we had a call in about this subject matter. It is not, I do not hide the fact that I'm not the biggest Fred VanVleet fan. I will say, Ryan from Kleinberg, thank you for calling in, and that your message starts off a lot nicer than it ends.
Hey Josh and Dan, just wanted to start off by saying I love the show. Gets me through my Friday workday every Friday with some great sports commentary to keep me going. I just wanted to come on here and ask how Josh is feeling after Fred VanVleet absolutely made him eat his words last night with a 54-point career-high performance and breaking the Raptors team record. Do you think Fred VanVleet's an all-star this year, and is that contract looking good now? Also, if Josh and Fred VanVleet were to step in the octagon for a few rounds, who do you think would come out victorious, Dan? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'll let you jump in there first. Maybe we should, there were a few questions in there. Maybe we should start with the last one, actually. Me versus Fred VanVleet. Who you got?
Okay, so how tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Okay, you're 6'2". Fred VanVleet is how tall? I might need a fact check on this one.
Yeah, Izzy might have to correct us next week, but I'm pretty sure he's either 6 foot or, you know how the NBA always kind of inflates those odds? My guess would be in that like 5'10", 5'11"
okay,
range.
So you have the distinct height advantage, which I would assume translates to a distinct reach advantage.
Yeah.
Now
I would hope so.
He only has a 2019 NBA championship ring, and now the most points by an undrafted player in the National Basketball Association history. So 2 for 2. You got the reach, you got the height, and he's got those little small accomplishments.
Which mean nothing.
Yeah, whatever, right? And he routinely competes against, some of the top athletes on the planet. So, maybe that one's a
Works
wash.
out every day.
Maybe that's a wash. You play men's league baseball with me, so that's kind of the same thing. I'm amongst the top athletes on the planet. So, if I'm being all serious, I think he'd run you down, Joshy. I'm sorry, man. I think he just has a slight edge on you. And
how dare you?
I may have answered differently before that game against Orlando the other night, but I think he kind of pushed the scales in his favor. So, but I will be there. I'll be in your corner if that means anything. I would be in your corner.
Thanks, man. You could throw in the white towel. I mean, he's a professional athlete that trains every day. Like, I would be absolutely lying to say that I could do anything against him. And Fred VanVleet, I know that you're listening. So if you want to put together like a charity thing and box, I'm down. But it's going to cost, I have that Mayweather kind of love. So it's going to cost $100 million. But yeah, going back to his performance, I cannot say anything bad about it. He was efficient. I think he shot 74% from the floor. He was 11 for 14 from 3. I'm pretty sure the franchise record for threes in a game was 12, so he came up just short there, but he was nothing short of dominant. I will say, though, this is what happens when you're a half-decent shooter and you shoot a lot, right? Like, what happens if, in the first half, he was 8 for 8 from 3, something like that. What happened if 7 of those missed? He takes, in my opinion, a lot of inefficient shots, but his skill level is good enough that when he gets hot, to me, something like this can happen. But I'm not taking away from the performance. He had 3 blocks and three steals too. So defensively, he made an impact. I would say if we paid him less, he would have still put up 54 points tonight. That is my point, is that it's not that he's unskilled, it's that he's not worth his contract, and I stand by the fact that I don't think he'll be as dominant in a few years, and that I think he's hit his ceiling.
So listen, a contract comparable to Fred VanVleet is Malcolm Brogdon. Would you rather have him?
Right. Absolutely, in a heartbeat. Oh my God, and a tasty pizza pie. I'll give them too. They can have Fred VanVleet, a tasty pizza pie on me, because Brogdon hasn't hit his ceiling, in my opinion. He has been on the rise steadily. He was looking good with the Bucks. He won 6th Man of the Year one year. But now with the Pacers, he's established himself to me as a bona fide all-star, and potentially, I think, in a couple years, a legitimate elite, all-star on a contending team. I think that Fred VanVleet, at best, should be a 6th man or a heavy role player on a championship team, which is what he was for us when we won the championship. When we had Kyle, when we had Mark, when we had Kawhi, he was a phenomenal addition. And I don't even know if we would have won without him. But my point is that you cannot build a contender around him, and Brogdon, you absolutely could.
So I think what people expected, of course, was, for this year, even last year, I should say, too, was for Fred to transition into being in a more full-time role and to, I think people would argue, to continue improving as well. Has he hit his ceiling then? Right. Was what you're implying?
In my opinion, he's very, very close to it. He doesn't have the height. He doesn't have the efficiency. He doesn't have the court vision, in my opinion. I think he's a shoot-first guy, and when he's hot, he'll drop them. When he's not, he doesn't. I do like the fact that he can make his own shots. He doesn't totally rely on the people around him to get the points that he needs to get. And I can't say enough that I love it when we're in a tough game and they haven't scored and the other team's going on a long run, that he will drive and get a hard basket and get fouled and get in there. I like that. That's grit, and this is obviously a hockey town too, so I love to see some of that. Mm-hmm. But I just don't see him improving to a point where he's getting also 8 assists a night and 6 rebounds a night and being dominant on D and putting up 25 points consistently and getting his, making the guys around him better. That is the difference between, this I'm good level, then the all-star level, and then I am a franchise player level. And I think that Toronto fans have been kind of, he wasn't an integral part of our title, and I think it's hard for people to overlook that.
Okay, well, further to our question from our lovely caller here, then let's segue into this. Do you think he's an all-star this season then? I'm going to say it's tough because Raptors fans and Toronto sports fans, sometimes they're guilty of tunnel vision. They're guilty of,
right.
And this is not just Toronto sports fans. Of course, we feel it more here. It's sports fans around the league. They have tunnel vision on their own team, and they kind of neglect
For sure.
the talent around the league, right? Who's got time to, keep tabs on everyone all the time, right? But when you look league-wide and you think about all-star selections and, the players at the same position as Fred VanVleet, the list kind of, as you rhyme off names, like, you start to realize that it's kind of a pipe dream, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. I totally agree. I think that although he's played well, although this is probably the best basketball he's ever played, and I'm going to say that hands down, even with all the shit that I just spouted about him, if you're talking sheer all-star, Beal, Harden, Trae Young, Brogdon, like right there, all 4 of those guys significantly better. And also being like playing better, not just I think they're better ball players. They're averaging more points. They're playing better. Their teams are typically doing better. Even the Hawks, their team sucks, and they're still in a better spot right now than the Raptors, with Trae Young leading the way. And he has similar, feast or famine type nights as well. But fundamentally, he's doing better. His team's doing better. I don't see where, like, I haven't even talked about Kyrie yet, right? There's another
That's
guy.
a thing, right?
How? Like, I would potentially even put Lowry. Lowry had an amazing start to the season before Fred. So it's like, how is he going to jump past like 7 or 8 legitimate guards that have been year over year doing what they do?
Well, don't forget that same night, Kyle Lowry had a triple-double.
He did, which is wonderful to see.
We can't forget that as well. So if you're going to include him on the list of people who would go to the All-Star game before Fred VanVleet, you'd have a legitimate case, especially with recency bias, right? If you're going to quote that game for 54 for Freddie, you got to quote the triple-double for Kyle. Right. But those 4 or 5 guys you named before that, it's not even like it's really necessarily close, right? Because you can see guys get in on, maybe intangibles or, one part of the game that they do well, kind of sneaky good skill, right? But those guys are in a different stratosphere. That's the problem.
For sure. And I mean, like, Bradley Beal in Washington has had so many all-star snubs, and all of those seasons he had put up better points on a worse team in Washington, and he got left out so many times. There's just no way that Fred VanVleet, with the numbers that he has right now, 20 points, 5 assists, and 5 boards, if I'm not mistaken, that's just, it's good, it's great, fantastic. I know a lot of people listening are like, yeah, Josh, that's exactly why Fred is fucking awesome, but it doesn't make him an all-star in my opinion.